Got it, Max?
Got it.
I'm sure some of you have seen, maybe you even have participated in a relay race. Yes? Two important moments in a relay race, right? The first is crossing the finish line. You want to get across the finish line and you want to win. The second important moment in a relay race, anybody? The passing of the baton. It seems like an easy thing, right? You're going to pass the baton to the person who's running after you. But in order to be the winners, the person coming in is coming in at a pretty rapid pace, so the person waiting for the baton has to be running fast too to be able to grab the baton and take off. Very important. So the person receiving the baton has to be pretty ready, right? They have to be ready. They have to be prepared. They have to be going fast. They have to be knowing what's coming up. We celebrate the feast of the Ascension of the Lord, and in a sense, it's like Jesus passing us the baton. He passes us the baton as he goes up and says, "You are now my witnesses to the ends of the earth. You carry on my mission." And we might say to ourselves, "I'm not so ready. I'm not so prepared to turn the other cheek, to love my enemies. I'm not so ready to always be kind to people, especially those you drive behind and don't put their blinkers on." Not so easy. I often wonder about two things, actually. When Jesus ascended, did he go up slow? Like, I imagine him just going ever so gently up into the sky, and maybe a billowy cloud hides him for a second so he could wave a little bit, and then keep going up. Or did he go up like a rocket being launched? I think it's immaterial, but I do wonder about such things. But I also wonder about the conversation Jesus had to have, the first conversation Jesus had to have with his Father once he got to the kingdom. And I actually put it down on paper because this was my thoughts the other day as I was preparing. So here's how it goes. God asks Jesus, "Whom did you leave on earth to carry on your mission?" Jesus says proudly, "My friends will do it." God replied, "You mean Simon Peter, who denied you? Judas, who sold you? And all the rest who ran away like scaredy cats when you were crucified? You mean to tell me that you left them to carry on your work?" Jesus says, "Yes, Father, those are the very ones." And God said, "And what, may I ask, is your backup plan?" Jesus says, "There is no backup plan. Either they do it, or it doesn't get done." Wow. So, in other words, we shouldn't be looking around to someone else who's going to carry on Jesus' mission so we don't have to. Every one of us has been given this personal task to carry on the mission because it's only us. It's just us. Again, we might not feel prepared. You've heard of the author Corrie ten Boom, Dutch writer. In her classic book, The Hiding Place, she writes that when she was 8 years old, she went with her mother to visit a neighboring family who had just lost a child to crib death. Corrie approached the crib in which the dead child lay. She reached out her hand and touched him. He was cold. For the first time in her life, Corey had touched death. That evening, the coldness was still with her, and she could not fall asleep. She began to cry. Her father came into her room. "Corey," he said, "what's the matter?" She replied, "I touched the dead child today, and I know that one day you and Mama are going to die. I will never be strong enough to let you go." "Oh, I see," said her father. Then he continued, "Corey, when we take the train to Amsterdam, do I give you your ticket while we were at home?" "No," she said, "you give it to me just before we climb on the train, because you are afraid if you give it earlier to me, I will lose it." "Exactly," said her father. "Today, you do not have the strength to face the challenges to come. But your Heavenly Father has already bought the ticket you will need and is holding it for you. When tragedy arrives, as it certainly will, you will find the necessary strength." A wonderful story. So true. I remember as a young child dreaming, sometimes waking up was a nightmare, thinking that my mom or dad had died. And my mother coming to me and saying, "It's a good sign. If you pray that we're dying when we're young, we'll live to a very old age." What a smart woman. What a smart woman. Seniors, how many here? You may have plans. You may have your future already written down and you know what's going to happen. But I guarantee you, you don't know all the obstacles, all the difficulties, or all the surprises that are in store for you. You could never be ready for them now. But somehow, when you are facing these things, God will hand you the ticket you need to help you through. Friends of mine recently just had a brand new baby, their first child. And they did all the prep work, thinking they had it all down pat, what they were going to do. And I got a call just a few days ago saying, "We were not prepared for this. This is difficult at times. The baby won't sleep." And I said, "Don't worry. God will give you the strength on that ticket when you need it the most." We never know what we're going to face on any given day. We could think we're prepared, we have trust in God, and I'm ready for anything. But the kind of trust we have to believe that God has our ticket, no matter what we're going to experience in life, like Syracuse, New York. I'm not ready for the cold. I don't have a decent coat. Don't go, thanks. But I told you that once I accepted the Lord's will for me, total peace, despite the fact that I don't know what's out there and what's to come. The same is true for each and every one of us. As long as we're willing to trust that God has a plan, and it may not match our own, but that God will always give us what we need to encounter, or to go through whatever encounter we find ourselves in. That kind of trust is real discipleship, my brothers and sisters. And I know you're all